see a lot of people in the US stuck with one problem. They can't build their sauna higher than 7 feet. And then they start wondering, am I doomed to have a crap sauna? You're not, but you do have to play the game a little bit differently. In this video, I'll walk you through what to do when your sauna can't be over 7 feet high, so you still end up with a really enjoyable, usable sauna instead of just a hot wooden room. I'm Anton, a Finnish sauna expert, and I've seen hundreds of low ceiling saunas at this point. Some are surprisingly good, most are just crap. So let's fix yours. First, a quick reality check. In a perfect Finnish sauna, your feet are above the top of the stones, and you have around 7.5 to 8 feet of total height to make that work. If your ceiling is capped at 7 feet, you probably won't hit that perfect feet above the stones rule without a little bit of tricks, and even then it can be tricky. So, the goal changes. We squeeze every inch of bench height we can, we choose the right heater, and we use airflow to cheat the physics as much as possible. So rule number 1, steal every inch of bench height you can. With a 7-foot ceiling, you cannot waste vertical space. From your top bench to the ceiling, aim for roughly around 40 inches if possible. I would say 39 to 44 inches is the realistic range. And of course, if you're taller, you still probably have to make it taller than that. But that should give you enough room to sit without smashing your head, but still keeps you high in the hot air pocket. From the top bench down to the foot bench, aim for around 15 to 18 inches or so. And from the foot bench to the floor, take what you can after that. In many low rooms, this will be even less than ideal, but that's fine. Rule 2, pick a heater that fits a low room. Most people pick a heater from Instagram photos, not from measurements. So in the low sauna, that's a big mistake already. In low saunas, you just want to skip the super tall tower heaters where the top of the stones ends up being almost at your chest height. You want a heater model that the top of the stone pile is as low as possible, so your foot bench can be at or close to that level. Look at the spec sheet and total heater height and minimum ceiling height, and make sure that the heater is approved for 7-foot ceilings. If you have to choose between a smaller, slightly lower heater that lets you sit higher, or a giant rock tower that forces benches too low, then I would just pick the small heater every single time. You will get better sessions in a well-designed layout with a modest heater than in a low, badly benched room with a huge one. Rule 3, flatten the ceiling and keep the hot pocket over the benches. In a low sauna, you can't afford weird ceiling shapes. That means no vaulted ceilings, no random architect swag corners where highest point is where nobody's actually sitting. Rather, use a flat ceiling and put your benches under that flat area, not under the lower dropped section. You want that little lowly pocket of hottest air to live directly above your head when you sit on the top bench, not 3 feet away over some door. If your room shape forces a slope, make sure the highest point is directly above the benches, not above the doorway or empty floor. Rule 4, use ventilation and air mixing to fight hot head, cold feet. In a short room, the temperature difference from the floor to ceiling is a bit smaller than in a tall sauna, but you can still get hot head and cool legs if air doesn't move at all. At minimum, you want fresh air coming in by or just above the heater, and the exhaust vent on the opposite wall somewhere around your top bench and foot bench. That gives you gentle flow. Fresh air in at the heater, across from where you sit, and out near the bench level. If you can, add a small quiet exhaust fan at the lower vent under the benches. That fan will pull hot air down into the seating zone and make sure that the whole room feels a little bit more even, especially in low ceiling cabins. A quick note on Sonum and other air mixing heaters. If you absolutely cannot get your benches as high as you'd like, the only real way to cheat the physics is to move the hot air around mechanically. Heaters like Saunas have a built-in fan that pulls the hottest air from high up in the room and mixes with the cooler air and blows that blend down towards your feet. In a 7-foot sauna, that kind of air mixing can make the climate feel like a taller, more even room, even though the ceiling is low. It doesn't of course replace a good layout, but if your structure is locked in, it's one of the few tools that actually changes how the heat feels. Rule 5, accept realistic temperature targets. With a low ceiling, chasing 200 Fahrenheit podcast sauna numbers is usually the wrong game. You don't need 220, 230 Fahrenheit on the wall thermometer for a great session if the benches are high and the air is moving and if you're throwing water on those stones. I would aim for something like 170 to 190 Fahrenheit, measured high on the wall of course, and focus on more how that feels on your body. Are your feet warm? Can you breathe easily? And can you stay in there for let's say 10 to 15 minutes without actually suffering? Temperatures that are too high in a cramped 7-foot room often just cook your head, dry your throat, without actually giving you those better health benefits. Rule 6. Design the benches for how you'll actually use the sauna. In a low ceiling, keep the bench system simple and functional. That could be one L-shaped bench or a single long bench along the back wall with proper foot bench is usually better than trying to squeeze in 3 fancy tiers. Prioritize having one really good top bench spot instead of 4 mediocre seats somewhere down low. And make sure you can actually sit upright without hitting your head and that your feet are not dangling down on the floor from that top bench. Rule 7. Use humidity to your advantage. In a low sauna, humidity is your best friend. Throwing water on those stones, proper lulu, makes the heat feel deeper and more full body, even if the absolute air temperature is a bit lower. Just make sure your ventilation is working so that the steam can leave from the room after your session and the wool can dry, of course. A low, very dry sauna at 200 Fahrenheit will usually feel much harsher and shorter than a low sauna at 180 Fahrenheit with regular lulu and good fresh air. If I had a fixed 7-foot ceiling and couldn't change the structure, here's exactly how I'd set up. First, I would pick a Sonum heater just because you get really even temperatures throughout the whole cabin, and even if you don't want to use that ventilator, you just turn it off and it's like a normal sauna heater, so totally up to you, nothing to lose. Then I'd set my top bench around, I would say 44 inches below the ceiling, and my foot bench about 16 to 18 inches below that. Then I'd put the fresh air vent near the heater and an exhaust vent with a small fan under the benches opposite side of the room where the heater is. Lastly, I'd run the sauna at a realistic 170-180 Fahrenheit with lots of lulu instead of chasing scary numbers, since the humid air is so much nicer than just some hot dry air. Trust me. To wrap this whole thing up, would I prefer a taller room? Of course, who wouldn't? But I would still rather have a well-designed 7-foot sauna that follows these rules than an 8-foot sauna where your feet are on the floor and there's no ventilation and all the heat leaves above your head where you're actually not sitting. If you follow the steps in this video, you won't build a perfect finished competition sauna, but you will build a genuinely good one that you can enjoy using every single week. If you want to go deeper into any of these topics, we have full videos on bench layouts, floors, walls, and ventilation, for example, that you can go and watch next. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.